Off Limits is the money podcast that blows up stereotypes, showing you that managing money doesn't have to be hard.
We want you to thrive, not only with your money, but in every part of your life.
What you will get out of this podcast is real, relatable, and relevant tips and strategies that you can apply today. Hi, I'm Donald Raymond, and this is
Christine Spiak. We are money coaches, business owners, and colleagues who are passionate about helping you become more of who you are. So if you're ready, join us.
So Christine, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about your gut. And maybe that sounds a little,
supplements, vitamins. What are we talking about here?
We're talking about your intuition and how to let it guide you to help becoming more prosperous. How does that sound?
Oh, I like that. Yeah, let's be more prosperous.
So do you listen to your gut? Do you listen to your intuition more specifically? Is it something you pay attention to?
I've got two answers for that, I think, because the first answer is, yeah, I eat all the time. Every time I'm hungry,
So you're being a wise guy?
Yeah, a little bit. So having fun with the gut idea there, but not as much as I should. Is that a fair answer? I don't. Maybe others can relate to that. I think there's certain things that I have a lot of confidence when I'm going into a situation, and yes, I trust myself. Maybe even too much, right? I'm too confident. But there's certainly a long list of things that I'm still learning, and in this space when we're talking about giving financial strategies and advice and coaching to people that are struggling, I feel very comfortable having those conversations, but put me in other situations and I'm a fish out of water, but I'm learning every day. And what I think I've learned is if I can arm myself with knowledge, then I can have the confidence to make an informed decision. And that's kind of the way I phrase it, either out loud or to myself. If I can make an informed decision, then yes, I listen to my intuition. I listen to my gut and I go with my instinct. If I am lacking that knowledge, I may have an instinct, but I don't trust it. I might doubt it. What about you?
So I think that's really perceptive of your take on it. For myself, and the reason why this episode kind of came to light is because what I'm finding is the more people I talk to, the more clients I work with, they're not tapping into their own intuition. They are taking, and I'll just specifically talk about money, they're taking their money actions based on what other people are telling them to do. Now, whether that's a family member saying, you're not good with money, listen to me, don't listen to you. Whether it's a marketer telling them, hey, spend your money here with us all the time, every day, do this. Or whether it's some podcast like ours or somebody else's, they're just leaning all into that. And they're not leaning into their own intuition. And the reason why I find this intriguing and interesting is because I do. I really rely heavily on my intuition, on what my gut says. And while, yes, you're talking about making an informed decision, that's important. But your intuition is your instinct. And you can tap into it more and rely on it more after you've made a lot of informed decisions and you know that, yeah, my instincts are good. Then you can just kind of look within and go with that gut and say, yes, this is good. And no, this is bad. We did it. And I'll give you a quick story. And it was back in 2011 when we wanted to move. We have an only daughter. We wanted her to grow up in a neighborhood and we weren't living in a neighborhood at the time. So we had started looking for a new home. We weren't finding anything that was exciting us. We did make an offer. It didn't end up coming through, which was good because it really wasn't anything that we were excited about. The home that I'm sitting in right now, where I am, what you see behind me, this home that we ended up building in 2011 really came because of my instinct. We came to look at an open house. It was a neighborhood we've never set foot in before. It was in a community that we never lived in before. And talking to the builder about, can this become a reality, making that informed decision. Yes, okay, we can afford it. We can do it. The timeline works. All of those things that go into our informed decision. It was my gut telling us that we're done. We've stopped looking. This is the neighborhood from us. Fast forward a year later, not only did we love the neighborhood, the location, we have made and met such great neighbors that have become lifelong friends.
Yeah.
We have created a tribe within our neighborhood. My daughter's best friend lives right around the corner. My friends, our whole community, well, I don't want to say whole community, but a big part of my husband and my community is wrapped up into this neighborhood. And that was my intuition.
Wow. But so let me just ask this question. So that's looking backwards, right? That's the hindsight. It's not a rearview mirror, but it's more of a crystal ball. Not looking into the future, or looking into the future. There is no crystal ball, but looking back, we can look at everything that happened, and you got to see the benefits of following your instinct. Did you have? Obviously, it wasn't as clear, but was that what your gut was telling you, or was it less granular, less defined, or kind of out of focus? It was screaming at you. Okay,
it was screaming at me. This is the neighborhood. This is you're gonna. And if somebody said to me, "You're gonna build a house in 3 months," I would have been, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, you're crazy.
That wasn't even on ever in my realm of consciousness.
That's
we're
awesome.
gonna build a home. We were looking to buy a home.
Yeah.
And we found a builder who could build one that we could afford in a neighborhood that was screaming at me.
And so not just a financial decision anymore. This became now over a decade, right? More than 10 years of relationship building and community and accountability, but also encouragement, right? I'm sure that you're surrounded with, it sounds like just a great community, a friendship group, a friend group that you guys all lean on each other in good times and in bad times. And I think that's what we all want,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, because I can trust my intuition, I lean into it. So circling back to what sparked this episode, I've noticed in working with people, they don't trust their intuition.
No, I think that's true.
So they don't rely on it. And how do we make that switch?
How do we make the switch? Is it a switch? Is it like a light switch? Or is this more of a, this is another area where we're replacing maybe some habits that good or bad. Maybe all our habits are good. Let's assume the best, right? We have lots of good habits, but are they prioritized right? We only have room for so many habits in our brain and our capacity to, to take action. And to evaluate information, right? Our brains can do a lot more, but we can't really identify with all of it scientifically and biologically, right? So in that same mindset, do you prioritize? This might be an area where we could even say identify the habits that you are good at, or that you feel like you do really well, that are on your list, and then start prioritizing them. And do we have this? Do you have this ability to connect with your intuition and trust your gut on that list? Is it a habit that you're exercising every single day?
Right. And we all have a voice that doesn't use words, right? That's this intuition that we're talking about.
Yes.
So are we listening to it?
Yes.
Or are we listening to all the external voices?
And I think there's power in both. So, as we were kind of talking through this episode, I just want to, this might resonate with some people because it kind of stuck out to me. There are going to be lots of influences, lots of voices, lots of noise. There's always going to be, right, that those distractions and that noise out there that's going to be competing for a spot, right, in your head. And it's going to be competing to try to get you to take an action or get you to believe a certain thing, right? Do it my way because my way is better, right? So there could be some negative voices, but there could be positive voices. And so having the discernment, being able to, and I think this kind of really meshes well with this idea of trusting your gut. Who are you listening to? Right? So if you're making an intentional decision on listening to people that you want to become, right? Go find that person that's 40 years, 20, 30, 40 years ahead of you and is already doing the things that you want to be doing. And try to start intentionally finding mentors. It doesn't have to be a contractual relationship, right? But surround yourself with people that are doing the things you want to do, that have already learned the things you want to learn, that are working in the businesses or owning the businesses that you want to own, that have the kind of family dynamic that you want to have. Surround yourself with those people and learn from them. Learn the things that you want to duplicate, learn the things that you don't want to duplicate.
Yeah. And while you're saying that, I'm going to try to look up a quote. It's something about you are the 5 people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that quote?
Yeah, I've heard something similar. I think there's lots of variations of that out there, but absolutely, this goes back to that mental focus, right? What we focus on is the behaviors that we exercise. Where we spend our money is the things that we're most invested in. It's the things we prioritize the most. It's the things that we feel like are the most important. And who we spend our time with is ultimately who we become. I like the other version that you are what you eat, right? If you are what you eat, you are who you hang out with,
Right. So I found it. It's the word I was missing was you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
There you go.
And that was by Jim Rohn, if I'm pronouncing his last name.
So if you're looking
right.
for mentors, you want to average up. But if you're looking to be a mentor, you might be looking to average down, right? So that you can help those people and be for them what these other people are for you.
So I would say do a quick inventory of who are the 5 people you surround yourself with. Are they positive? Are they toxic? Are they who you want to be like? Are they who you don't want to be like?
Are they just the same as you, right? So that doesn't move the needle up or down.
Right. And I say a lot, like with my husband, we're opposites attract. And I think it suits us and serves us well, because if we were exactly the same, I don't know what that type of marriage would be like. I've never been in that type of marriage, but I think opposites attract serves us well. And when I look at my friends, I have a very good friend and we joke, we're the yin and the yang. We come at life, we approach life from 2 very different ways, 2 very different perspectives. And we learn from each other because of it.
Sure.
And so when I look at like who those 5 people are, they're all different in some way, and they're all positive. They all leave me feeling refueled, regenerated. They fill me up. They support me. And I think that's important.
We talk about this in leadership development a lot, right? So if you're a leader of a company, if you own your own small business, if you're just a middle manager, or even if you're just a line worker, right? You have a circle of influence. But when we start talking about what separates good leaders from bad leaders, and we've all got examples of working with or around both good and bad leaders, the good ones tend to be the ones that identify their own weaknesses, right? And they surround themselves with people that are different, but they're good different, right? So they fill all of the voids, all the weaknesses. They shore them up. So collectively, this leader is not just one person. Now he's 5, 10, 15 people, but the value that group is creating is tremendous. And all of a sudden, the entire company thrives, the entire organization thrives, and the people feel valued, right? Because they're getting to lean into the things that they're just naturally good at. They get to trust their instinct. So this just popped into my mind. This kind of leans on the education system a little bit. So something that we've noticed in our family, my father's an educator and my little sister is an educator. And something that they've noticed kind of shifting around is how the educational system views education and what's important, what's not important, how to educate people at different age ranges in the different schools and everything. And it's this tennis match, right? It's this pendulum just swinging one way and the other. It's always at the extreme edge. It's always all the way in the far right position, getting ready to go back to the left, right? And then it swings all the way back to the left. So lots of overreaction. But it's this idea that, on the one hand, you want to structure education so that kids learn what they need to learn. On the other hand, there is a natural curiosity, especially in children, that has been kind of, putting out the candle, right? Popping the bubble of these young minds and saying, you've got all these fascinations, these ideas, these fantasies. None of it's going to come true. Let me tell you what you need to know so that you can go out into the workplace and be successful in the way that I want to shape you, right? I'm going to force you into this mold. And so we've really been swinging back and forth between these challenging, these competing ideas. And I don't think either one by itself is the right one. I think it has to be kind of finding that balance. And I think that's where we are in this conversation. We have to find the balance for ourselves where we allow our inner voice to have a dominant position, but we also allow ourselves to be molded by our environment and be able to be around people that need to, learn from us and identify when we're around people that we need to learn from.
I think that's completely fair. And I think there's a lot of truth to it, because again, it goes back to balance. You can't be all one way or all the other. You can't be all in, all out. You got to have balance in it. Also, one other thing I think is worth mentioning here is then there's this other inner voice of us that's fear, that's driven by fear, which is very different from your intuition. Intuition comes from a place of calm. Fear comes from a place of stress and anxiety. So I think maybe this is an assumption. It doesn't have anything to do with any kind of studies or research I've done, but I think maybe
you're just following your intuition.
Right. I think maybe people don't lean into their intuition because they can't discern it from what's fear, stress, and anxiety to what's my calm inner voice telling me in this moment.
Or even worse, what if they challenge that intuition as soon as they hear it? So like, hey, lean into this thing, and then you immediately hear the voice that says, but what if I'm wrong? You know? Hey, you know what? If you're wrong, you'll adjust, you'll adapt. You know, what if you touch the stove and it's on? You're going to take your hand off, right? Because you just got new information, right? So if I touch something that's hot, I'm just going to make a decision. I'm going to adapt, and it's probably going to be an impulse. It's going to be a reaction. I don't have time to think in those moments. And I think that's where, you know, if we could teach ourselves to be more reactive, be more responsive, and kind of make it an involuntary response to trust our gut. You know, what if you could make it that powerful and create an involuntary response to always trust your gut?
Right. So now
what kind of difference would that make in your life?
Right. So now if we take that exact question and tie it into money, I think our listeners are going to be like, ooh, I can't do that. Because money really has so much more behind it, right?
Sure.
It's not just this paper or plastic thing that we use. There's so much emotion tied into our money. So when we're asking people, you know, listen to your intuition when it comes to your money, maybe it's like, whoa, I can't do that because I'm not familiar with this. This is something that causes me stress, causes me heartache. This is something that
fear.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, we got to be careful here, right? It would be easy to say, follow these rules, do these things because this is the right way. But we're actually trying to say, don't listen to what we're saying. Don't listen to what others are saying. We're saying, listen to your own inner voice and use the information that you have to make the best decision that you can. So I didn't create this phrase, but I've heard it over and over, and I've started to use it a lot, now in this stage of life, which is take the information that you have and make the best decision that you can. So that information, that available information is ever changing, right? You learn something new every minute of every day, whether you realize it or not. So you're getting inputs all the time. Make the best decision you can. What that means is trust your gut. You've got the information, right? And you've got the ability to make a decision. Do you have the confidence to make the decision? And so I think, put those two things together and just use that as kind of your baseline, your criteria for trusting your gut, for making that decision. Take the information that you have, make the best decision that you can, and then do it again, right? And so this goes back to, I can't remember if we've shared it in this one or not. I think we have in this show, but I've shared it a ton in other ways, which is make a small change, learn from it. Make a bigger change, learn from that, repeat, right? This is kind of how I've been living my life for several years now, and it really works, and I think it's easy to say that, but start putting that into practice in your life for whatever that means, right? Whether you're, at any stage of life, at any different age range, whatever your social status is, whatever your employment status is, it doesn't really matter, right? Just make a change, identify and make a change. Doesn't matter what it is, right, wrong, indifferent. The point is you're going to take an action, right? You're going to learn from that action, which now we've got new information. Now you've got a little bit of courage. You did something and the world didn't explode, right? So I make an adjustment. I did something. Maybe it worked. Maybe it didn't. I'm going to do something a little bit different. Maybe I'm going to take a little bit bigger risk. I'm going to dip my toe a little farther into that water, and then I'm going to adjust from that. And I'm just going to keep doing this over and over and over. It will breed confidence over time.
I want to lean into what you're saying. So if you're someone who doesn't trust themselves with their money, give some of it away. Don't hold on to it so tight.
See what happens.
And don't see what happens.
Yeah.
So give a little. Give a little away. See how it makes you feel. See how you feel after you part with it. See what happens. And then give a little more away. And as you start releasing your money, what you're going to find is going to happen is it's not this thing that you're holding on so tight to that you're constricting it.
Yeah.
You're not sucking the life out of it. You don't have this energy attached to it that's maybe negative, because when you give something away, right, that unleashes and unlocks so many positive stimulations and emotions throughout our brain and our body and our system. So if money is something to you that you're just holding on so tightly, it stresses you out, you have fear around it, give some of it away.
And I love that. And I think it makes me want to talk about something that I know we're going to get to. And I'm just not sure if I should bring it in now, but I'm going to anyway, because we're going to talk about it in every show probably. And it's this idea of a budget, right? In the budget, there is space to give some of that money away. And really, if you think about it in simple terms, the budget is you releasing and separating from all of we use an app called EveryDollar, right? And we recommend it to everybody. It's a great tool, probably the most popular budgeting tool that's out there. And it's called EveryDollar because we give every dollar a job. And you could say that you're separating from, you're releasing every dollar into these different categories to put them to work, right? And that process it's hard to learn. But it's really kind of simple at the same time, right? It just takes developing some new habits, a new relationship with your money. And if you're one of these people that has a lot of anxiety when it comes to finances, avoiding them is only going to make it worse.
Right.
It's only going to make it worse. So what you just said is so powerful, and not just how it makes you feel and your relationship with the money when you give it away, but the good that it's doing, right? The impact it just had to somebody else. And not to, it's kind of a shameless plug to working with coaches. But if you work with a coach, if you contact Christine or I, or somebody else that offers this kind of coaching, you will find value and specifically to the context of this conversation in some of the tools and strategies and tips on how to start moving your habits and your behaviors into that column so that you are removing yourself from this unhealthy relationship with the money into a more healthy relationship money into now a vehicle that's going to help you achieve goals, and all of those things become part of the conversation. It's not, we are talking about money and finances and, personal budgeting and things of that nature. But what we're really talking about is just an overall approach to life and creating a lifestyle and a quality of life, both for yourself and those around you, that in the spirit of giving back. I love what you said, because you said give some of it away, give some of that money away. And, there's people that'll say all kinds of crazy stuff like, I don't make enough money to give money away. I don't make enough money to write a budget. I don't make enough money to do this or to do that. You got to change. That's your inner voice talking. And that's that other voice that we're talking about. And it's probably not your voice. If you're really totally honest with yourself, somebody told you that. Somebody told you that you couldn't do it and you just latched onto it. And until you decide to change it, that voice is not going to go away.
To me, Donald, everything you said goes back to empowering yourself to live the life that you choose. It's setting yourself up for success.
Yep. And the life that you were meant for, because we all have a purpose on this planet.
Right. And create it. How do you create that life for yourself?
Yes.
And money, like you've said, we've said it before, it's a vehicle, it's a tool, it's to get you there. It's not who you are. It doesn't define you. It doesn't bring you happiness.
That's right.
So let it go.
Let it go and put it to work. Not just don't let it all go, right? So if you're hearing this, don't just go liquidate all your assets, right? But give some away and see what comes back, right? It might not be monetary. It might be an opportunity. It might be a new networking contact. It might be an opportunity to get involved in community and give back in a nonprofit sense, where you can go work with a charity or your local church or whatever that is. It might just be an opportunity to go connect with a neighbor that you haven't met yet and help them, with a need, even non-financial, help them out, go mow somebody's grass, right? Like these are little things, but they're so overlooked. And, it's mowing grass isn't free. You got to burn a little gas. You got to use a lawnmower. Yeah, you might use somebody else's lawnmower. Who knows? But I think the idea is you're investing in yourself, but you're doing it by investing in others. And that will give back, in just so many ways that aren't even quantifiable. What do you say to the person, because there's going to be people listening right now that are like, okay, yeah, great advice, right? I mean, inner voice, listen to your gut. Tried that, been there, done that, didn't work for me, So and even beyond that, it might be somebody that says, I don't even want to be involved in the conversation. Like, just tell me what to do and let me do that.
And I've certainly been on that end. Like, and my friends, my closest friends can tell you, give me the plan, tell me what to do. I want to follow it.
Yep.
I want to implement it.
We will not deviate from this plan.
Yes. But I will tell you, there's a lot of value that comes from listening to yourself. And something else that my friend, if and when she listens to the episode, what I'm going to say next, she'll be laughing at inside her head. You have to also trust the process.
Oh yeah.
You have to trust, where you're going, and maybe the path to get there isn't the one that you plan for, which is me. I'm the planner.
Yep. So I'm gonna share. You're gonna share a quote later. This is not the quote for the episode, but I have to say it right now. It's super short, but it fits really well into what we're saying, and that is the quote is: "Plans are useless, but planning is everything." And I want to say it was Roosevelt. It was a president that said that. But I think the idea is pretty simple, right? Plans are useless. Planning is everything. So what you just said, I want the plan. I'm not going to deviate from the plan. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. This is the order we're going to do it in. How often does that plan end up being exactly what you thought it was going to be?
Almost never.
Almost never, if not never, right? So the point is, I go back to all the inputs, right? So you're going to start, you're going to take an action, you're going to move forward, you're going to do something, and you're going to learn from what you're doing. So you're going to take the information you have and you're going to learn from it, right? You're going to take an action. You're going to make the best decision that you can. If we just keep doing that, we just keep getting better, right? And the only alternative to that is inaction. And what happens if you stop moving? What happens if you never make a decision? What happens if you get stuck in this idea of a process, but you never actually create a process or follow a process? What if you just don't trust that planning at all works, and so you just don't make a plan? Now you're on the opposite end of that spectrum, where all of a sudden you aren't living life, but life is happening to you,
right,
and you live a life
you.
of circumstance, right? Mm-hmm. And you have no control and no say. And a lot of people, I think, probably have an experience and they would say, yeah, that's kind of the life that I've been living, and I don't know how to get out of it.
So we go back to your pendulum that you illustrated earlier in this, and we got to swing to the middle so we have balance. We're not so far planning to one extreme, or so far just trusting the process to the other extreme.
That's right.
So this kind of leads into our quote for the show, which is by Albert Einstein. The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift.
Wow. I challenge anybody to argue with Sir Albert Einstein.
I second that.
Yeah, come on, bring it. I want to hear your somebody defute that, please, because I don't think you can. I don't think you can, and I think spot on, right? I mean, for that to be an Albert Einstein quote, and to have so much relevance in our society today. I know that what I'm about to say isn't true, but like, who are the Albert Einsteins of today that are writing the quotes and like seeing 100 years, 200 years into the future, and what they're saying and doing is going to be so relevant even then in that present once we get there.
Those are the people that I want to follow.
Those are the people I want to follow.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know. Is Elon Musk one of them? I mean, do you think
maybe he's in the category of influencer? That's for sure. He's certified genius, no doubt.
He thinks from a completely different.
Absolutely. And you have to, right? This element of looking into the future. We talked about in our last show about, things being difficult, and the idea that looking down the road 4, 5, 10, 15 years is just so difficult, cumbersome. And it's really an impossible task. But, now I kind of challenge that notion with a quote like that from Albert Einstein. You don't know when he said it, do you? What's the date?
I don't.
That would be. It's for him to have that kind of insight, that kind of foresight. For anybody to have that kind of foresight, that's amazing, and it really does. I mean, it rings so true in today's society.
So let's switch to the action item or the next steps for this to help people try to tune into their intuition.
Yeah,
and
so
then the book recommendation that you have.
So I'll take those. And so the action is simple. We've actually given this action before, but there's a slight twist on it. And that's to get your journal back out. We really want to encourage you to journal. And what I want to encourage you to do is just write it down. And the it in this scenario is, what is the it? What is that gut response? What is that instinct telling you? And if you can't tap into that yet, write down what those other voices are and where they're coming from and why you think that you're hearing those voices but not your intuition, because you may find out that voice you're hearing is your intuition. Maybe you haven't identified it correctly. But try really hard to just write them down. Anything goes, right? With journaling, as you're getting started or starting a new technique like this, I think it's important to remind yourself that there is no right or wrong way. What you want to do is just begin. Just simply begin. Write down the first word that comes to your mind and then start expanding on the idea. You get one word on a piece of paper. Why did you write that word down? Where did it come from? What were you thinking about? What was the weather like? What kind of mood are you in? All of those things play into why you're writing down what you're writing down. So get the journal back out, interact with the journal. And
it's that brain dump that we talked about.
It's the brain dump. Yeah. Start with the brain dump. Absolutely. Start there and then go back and reread it. Let a couple days go by. Go back, get back involved with it, and treat it like a budget, right? So we talk about getting involved in the budget. The budget is active. You're starting over every month. So you're really recreating, even though we get better at it and it kind of get on autopilot after a certain amount of time. It's always the same process. And so journaling will become that way. And so all of a sudden, like your journaling and your budgeting activities, maybe they go hand in hand. And if that helps, with the process and helps you kind of think about how to journal and how to get in touch with these ideas, then great.
It's clarity and it's information.
Clarity and information.
It's putting something on paper and then looking at it through a different lens.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that break, write it down, whatever kind of mood you're in, giving a little bit of time and then going back and interacting with it again. You'll read it with new eyes, fresh eyes, with a new opinion, and maybe you'll have some new ideas, and you can add to that, right? And it will help over time. So the book that we're going to recommend, this one really could have gone with any episode, but specifically in the idea in the vein of being informed, making informed decisions, building confidence, trusting your gut, being able to move forward from a position of knowledge, and take an intentional step forward. We're going to recommend the book Simple Wealth, Inevitable Wealth. The author is Nick Murray, and the link will be in the description. This is a book that you can only get from him. So he's a well-renowned. You'll have instant credibility when you go to his site, start reading about him. This is not the only book that he's written, so I encourage you to check out other books. But this one in particular is a great place to start. And he releases a new version, a revision every few years, because what this really is an overview of our market, of our investment market, the entire world, trade and e-commerce, all kind of boiled down and simplified and summarized into one nice, neat little package. So the reason that we're bringing the book and Nick Murray is it's a great tool, it's a great resource, and it's a summary of what the market is doing. And so the reason that he releases a new revision every couple of years is because obviously the market is changing, right? And so he wants it to always be current and relevant and update it with any new information. And so I think currently the version that I read most recently had over 150 years of market research and data available to comment on. And so the majority of the book is unchanged, but there is a section that just keeps growing as the market changes. So great resource, highly recommend it. Nick Murray, Simple Wealth, Inevitable Wealth. It will help you identify and understand the market just a little bit better, and hopefully encourage you going forward on making future investment decisions and maybe collecting more information along the way. So that's going to be it for today.
I enjoyed it very much, and I'm looking forward to our next one.
All right. Well, take care.
All right. Be well. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Off Limits.
Beyond the podcast, we are money coaches who want to help you.
So if you are looking for help managing your money, use the links in the description below to contact either of us and learn how coaching can help you thrive.
Lastly, please help us to spread the word by subscribing, leaving a comment, and sharing our podcast with your friends and family.